Woof. Howdy, fellow Trailhounds. Welcome back to Thomas the Trailhound. Episode 34. Anyways, let's get started, shall we? Proof of flight. South again on the trail. They left Baxter behind the way you leave a fever, grateful and a little unsteady on your feet from it. Spring had not committed to anything yet. Snow held on under the shaded trees like it had a grudge. The open ground had gone to mud where the sun could reach it, and the streams ran loud and full in the color of tea. Carrying winter down the mountain, a mouthful at a time. Some mornings the cold felt like January, lying to you. Some afternoons it forgot itself and got warm enough to work up a sweat. We were caught between seasons. So were we. Echo took the front again, easy as breathing. He read the trail, kept the pace, watched the sky, and looked back over his shoulder more than a man walking alone ever needs to. The old man noticed. I noticed. Neither of us said anything. Some mornings you let a thing be true without naming it. Just see how long it can last. It was a good stretch these first days. The kind you want to slow down and live inside a little longer than you're allowed to. There was a fire one night, and something that might have been a joke from the old man, and Echo laughing at it the way that surprised him more than it surprised us. It felt for a few days like three of us were simply a family walking south. I want to be honest about that, because what came later only means anything if that part was real too. Echo went on taking care of us in ways so small you'd miss him if you weren't the one they were for. He carried more than a share and let you think it was less. He checked the crossings before we got to them. He slowed the pace and never admitted that's what he was doing. He picked all rest stops where the old man could sit down without it costing him anything. He watched me the way you watch a dog that's been sick. Not worried exactly, just not looking away either. It was kindness, but it had an assumption folded inside of it. The way a letter had a second page you haven't turned to yet. Without him, we might not make it. The old man understood what Echo was doing, and for a while he let him do it. He was grateful, not proud, stung, and that difference mattered more than it sounds like it should. There was a time, not so long before this, when being helped would have cost him something he wasn't willing to pay. That time was behind him now. But even gratitude has an end date. He knew Echo couldn't go on carrying the two of us forever, any more than a bridge can hold a road that never stops growing longer. One evening, Echo laid out the next day's route, where we'd need to be before the weather turned. The old man listened, and then without heeding it, said no. Not stubbornness. He noticed things Echo hadn't. The temperature was swinging too fast to trust. The melt would make a crossing worse by afternoon, not better. The wind had come around. I caught something on the air 20 minutes back that made my hair rise along my spine, and he'd seen me catch it. His knee had started stiffening in a particular way he learned over these last weeks to take seriously. Echo her caution. The old man was looking at the whole day. There was the shape of the thing, right there, before either of them could have said it in words. Echo had strength enough to meet the trail head on. The old man had learned wisdom enough not to, when he did not have to. Somewhere past the rest stop, without ceremony, the old man moved out ahead of Echo. I watched Echo's whole body want to correct him, the instincts to step back in front, to say, "Slow down, wait." I watched him choose not to. I fell in beside the old man instead, or just ahead of him, in the rhythm we built without either of us deciding to build it. He read my ears and set the set of my shoulders. I read the change in his gait before he felt it himself. I stopped before he asked me to. He rested before the pain could get the better of him. Neither of us treated it, any of it, as weakness. It was just how we moved now. Way two people who lived in the same house long enough stopped needing to ask before they turned off a light. Echo dropped in behind us. It happened so plainly. I don't think he even noticed the moment it happened. Days ago, he'd walked in front of us, like a door held open against the weather. Now he walked behind, and something in the way he watched had changed too. Less like a man bracing to catch a fall, more like a man simply watching two people walk. The stream, when we reached it, was wearing all its winter at once. Fast, full, cold enough to stop a heart if you went in wrong. Echo looked at it and saw something he could manage. He probably could have. That was never really the question. The old man said no to that too. Not fear. He'd learned something Echo hadn't yet. A solution that only works with Echo standing in the middle of it isn't a solution the three of us can keep using. So he studied the water instead, the way he'd started studying most things lately. Patient, unhurried, like a man reading a page he intends to remember. I went along the bank on my own, nose down, and found what he was looking for without either of us saying what that was. An old crossing upstream, half a fallen tree still holding, stones underwater, gone quieter than it looked from where we stood. Something had been using this way before us. I could smell that much. I came back and told him the only way I know how to tell anybody anything. Echo started forward to check it himself. The old man's hand came up, not sharp, just there. Let him show us. 3 words, but they were doing a great deal of work. I led them to it. It wasn't easy, even so. The old man still had to get across, and getting across still cost him something. He went slow over the wet trunk. He came down the bank sideways, testing each place before he trusted it with his weight. He took the pack off, carried it separately. He let me cross first and wait for him on the far bank, which I did, watching. And one bad step he took, Echo's hand, one step, not the whole crossing, and then let go of it again. He stopped once, halfway, and just breathed. Then he kept going. He didn't prove anything by pretending the pain wasn't there. He proved it by managing the pain like a man who'd finally learned its habits. Stop. Breathe. Change your angle. Take the help that's offered only when you need it. And go on. Echo watched all of it from the near bank, and I think that's the moment something in him actually shifted, rather than just bent. The old man's getting across didn't depend on hiding what was broken in him anymore. It depended on knowing it well enough to live inside it. There's a moment I keep returning to, turning it over the way you'll turn a song in your pocket long after the walk that gave it to you. Halfway across, I look back toward Eka. It was old instinct, the kind that doesn't ask permission. For a long while, looking back at Echo, had met, come get us, come fix this. Then I looked at old man instead. Give me a word, low, or maybe it was only a look. I've told the story enough times now that I'm no longer certain which. And I've decided it doesn't matter. I understood it either way. I finished the crossing. That was the whole of it. That was everything Echo needed to see. Though I didn't know at the time. I wasn't waiting on him to save us anymore. I was waiting on the old man. And the old man was waiting on me. Once we were all across, Uncle Hand went to the old man out of pure habit, checking him over, looking for an injury he'd have expected. The old man asked instead whether Echo was all right. He'd noticed something Echo hadn't gotten around to noticing about himself yet. The boot gone dark with water. A blister worked open again. The leg that had been quietly compensating for the old man all this time, now paying its own bill. So the old man tended him up. Nothing dramatic. Dry sock, wrap pulled tight. The last good piece of food handed over without comment and insistence. Not quite a question. That they'd rest here a while longer than planned. The one who'd been doing the carrying got carried in his own small way for once. It didn't make Echo any less than he was. He was still the strongest of the three of us, still the youngest, still built for the kind of trouble the trail throws at a person without warning. But strength had stopped being the only currency that brought you something to give. I settled in next to him while the old man got the fire going and bent over the map like he had somewhere particular to be with it. For the first time since I'd known him, Echo let himself rest without keeping half an eye on the dark past the firelight. Later, when the fire had settled into kind of a low light that makes people say things they might not say by daylight, Echo admitted he'd thought the first crossing was manageable. For you, the old man said. That was all, but it carried the whole shape of the thing between them. The Echo had spent this recovery choosing routes his own body could survive, and then using what strength he had to drag the rest of them through behind him. And the old man had to choose differently now. He had to choose a way that he and I could survive on our own, once Echo wasn't there to drag us through it. Echo asked after a while whether the old man had known about the other crossing beforehand. The old man didn't answer in words. He looked over at me instead, long enough that Echo followed the look and understood it the way you understood the weather. He hadn't known. I had. The old man didn't tell him he was free to go. That conversation was still up ahead somewhere, waiting on its own night. But he said one more thing before the fire burned down, and it came out plain, without any of the reaching for metaphor a younger man might have needed. You've been carrying more of us than you had to, son. You don't have to keep doing that. Echo didn't answer that either. He just looked at the fire a while, the way a man looks at something he isn't ready to put down yet. In the morning, the old man and I started walking before Echo had finished breaking camp. It wasn't leaving him, it was trust. The kind that doesn't need to be announced. We knew which way was south. We knew he'd catch up. He watched us go. The old man's stride was still uneven, still shorter than it used to be. I still paused more than I once did, and he still read it every time before I had to ask. Neither of us moved quickly. Neither of us moved alone. Echo fell in behind us, a few paces back. For the first time since Baxter, he didn't hurry to take the lead. He watched them walk ahead of him, the old man and the old dog, neither one moving quickly and neither one moving alone. He had been waiting for the old man to become strong again. It had not occurred to him that strength might come back wearing a different shape than the one he remembered. The old man's stride was shorter now. His left leg dragged a little on the climbs, and the dog paused more than he used to, and waited without seeming to wait. Still they moved with the quiet agreement of two creatures who had learned the shape of each other's wounds. Echo had mistaken speed for strength before. Most young men do, before something teaches them otherwise. He walked a few paces behind them. It did not close the distance, and found he did not need to. People talk as though letting go. People talk about letting go as it's one thing you do with your hands. Open them. Release whatever you've been holding. Watch it go. But I don't think that's the hardest kind. Sometimes letting go means walking close enough to catch somebody and choosing, one step at a time, not to. Means watching them stumble without deciding to stumble is the same thing as falling. Means allowing someone you love to carry a weight badly, slowly, in a way you could carry better. Because someday your hands will not be there, and theirs will have to know the shape of it. That's a hard lesson for the strong. Strong come to believe that love is what they can lift, what they can mend, what they can stand between and keep from breaking. There is goodness in that. Lord knows there are days when all that keeps a creature alive is another creature refusing to put it down. But if you carry someone long enough, you can forget that carrying was supposed to lead somewhere. A nest is built to hold the bird that cannot fly. It is also built to become unnecessary. The second person's purpose is the crueler one. Echo had been flying beneath us ever since he found us, waiting for the old man's wings to fall again. When he saw at the crossing was not the bird he remembered, the old man would never fly as high, or as fast, or for as long as he once had. Winter had taken that from him, and pretending otherwise would not bring it back. But an old bird knows things a young bird mistakes for weakness. He knows which words are worth fighting. He knows where the air will lift him and where pride will drive him into the trees. He knows when to beat his wings and when to let the mountain carry some of the weight. And if one wing no longer holds as it should, perhaps he learns to fly besides another creature who has learned the shape of the damage. Maybe that is what Echo saw when he fell behind us. Not that the old man had become young again, not that I had become strong enough to replace him. Only that between the two of us, there was still enough wing left to carry us south. Enough, perhaps, to carry us home. That is it. The Diogenes Trailside Reflection. Aging with grace is hard to do. Time erodes and time changes. The strength through the generations of aging is something that you can redefine. Mental toughness is the best muscle to develop. Some of us are better at holding that than others, and some of us are better at letting go. It doesn't mean that any one of us is less important. The true strength is knowing when to hold, when to carry, and when to let go. If you made it this far, thank you. Consider hitting like, share, and subscribe. This is episode 3452 of Old Man and Hound Walking the Appalachian Trail, an original spoken word series to honor my Ojibwe and Irish storytelling ancestors. Thank you. Diogenes out.